Welcome to Snohomish County Health Department's Savvy Septic Grant Project Workshop for Installers. This is a follow-up to the Savvy Septic Contractor Workshop, where we'll share specific information that pertains to installers who would like to work on Savvy Septic grant projects. First of all, thank you for taking this additional workshop specific to installers. We want you to have the information you need about participating in these projects, including how to bid and what's required. Because these projects are government funded, there are several rules we must follow while completing them. If you have any questions after viewing this workshop, please reach out. As a refresher from the main contractor workshop on Savvy Septic, our grants cover up to $30,000 for septic system replacements, major repairs, or connections to sewer for eligible homeowners. Installation costs are never reimbursable, meaning if someone has already had the installation work done, we cannot reimburse them. They must apply with us beforehand. If a homeowner contacts you about doing a septic installation and needs financial assistance, let them know about both Savvy Septic grants as well as Craft 3 in case they don't meet the income limits for our grants. You can direct them to savvyseptic.org and craft3.org for all info, and both of these links are listed on our Savvy Septic handout available on our Info for Contractors Savvy Septic page. Please note that if you've been talking with the homeowner at this point, but haven't been hired to do any work yet, and then the homeowner is approved for a grant, you may not end up being selected as the installer. Once they apply with us and get approved, it is out of the homeowner's hands at that point, and the project will go through the program's bidding process. On the note of bidding, we'll next go over how to bid on a project funded through Savvy Septic. First, review any emails from Savvy Septic that have been sent out to certified installers requesting installation bids. If you want to submit a bid for the project, please email us a bid and include an itemized list of costs. Submit your bid to us by the closing date stated in the email. The bidding period is typically 2 weeks unless there is a major holiday during that time frame. After the closing date, we will take all bids received, select the lowest bidder, and notify all those who bid whether they were selected or not. Before bidding on a project, make sure that you are eligible to bid. Because these projects are considered public works by Washington State Labor and Industries, they are subject to prevailing wage. You must meet L&I's requirements for bidding on prevailing wage projects. This means you must have taken L&I's public works training or be exempt from this requirement, have a valid Unified Business Identifier or UBI, have industrial insurance coverage for employees, and are not currently debarred from bidding. Your bid will also have to meet prevailing wage requirements, which means paying prevailing wage for the project where applicable. If you're unsure where it applies or don't know what the rates are, you can look up rates on the L&I website. A link to all of this L&I information will be provided after the workshop and is available on our For Contractors webpage at savvyseptic.org. Next, we'll go over a couple common questions that come up during install bidding. How do I get notified about Savvy Septic projects? When we have a grant applicant who needs installation, we send out an email to all installers certified with Snohomish County Health Department. If you want to verify you are on the list, please email savvy.septic@snowco.org. Do I need to be registered in the System for Award Management, or SAM? This was required for a short period of time, and you may remember a memo being sent out about it in 2023. However, this requirement has been waived by funding sources. It may become a requirement in the future, but for the time being, it is not required. If this changes and it becomes required in the future, we will send out a notice to all installers again. Can homeowners solicit bids themselves? Although we send out a request for bid to all installers, homeowners are welcome to reach out to installers on their own if they wish. Any bids they solicit must be sent to us by the same closing date and will be considered equally. What should I include in my bid? There are several things you'll want to be sure to include in the bid you submit. Be sure that where applicable, Prevailing wage rates are used as this is required by Washington State L&I for Savvy Septic projects. Also include prevailing wage filing fees, as well as electrical work and decommissioning of the old tank where applicable. Also include taxes. Use the tax rate based on the address of the property where the project is located. We have a tax rate lookup link on our Info for Contractors webpage if you need to check. What if I plan to use a subcontractor? Include the cost of any subcontractor's work in your bid. Subcontractors will need to follow prevailing wage requirements as well, so keep this in mind. Just as you need to make sure you are eligible to work on public works projects, make sure any subcontractors you use are also eligible. To reiterate again from earlier, this means they must have taken L&I's public works training or be exempt from this requirement, have a Unified Business Identifier or UBI, have industrial insurance coverage for employees, and are not currently debarred. They will need to file L&I prevailing wage paperwork like you will as well. If your bid is selected, we will send an email stating you've been selected as the winning bid and will explain next steps. The email will include an attached checklist as shown on this slide, which is for your reference. It states what needs to be completed before installation work begins, during installation, and after installation. The next few slides will have more details on what is included in this checklist. After you've been selected as the installer for the project, there are a few things to do before you can start work. We'll need to make sure that you have a current W-9 on file with the health department. We will check with our finance department to see if we already have one on file, and we'll let you know if you need to submit an updated W-9. You will also need to complete an agreement between yourself and the homeowner that states the county will be paying on behalf of the homeowner for the installation work. This agreement will be provided by us and sent by email for your signature. Next, you'll submit an intent to pay prevailing wage with Washington State L&I. Again, if you're unfamiliar with this process, please review the link to L&I prevailing wage information after this workshop. You'll also need to be sure and complete any permit requirements, such as a pre-construction meeting, and request the designer to issue the permit. Once you have the permit, wait for our staff to send you an all-clear email before conducting any work. It's very important that you wait for the all-clear email from Savvy Septic staff because even if you have completed all requirements, we may still be waiting for requirements from other parties, such as the homeowner. For some projects, you may have to wait for a cultural resources review to be completed before we can give you the all-clear to do installation. This only occurs on some projects depending on where the funding for the project is coming from, as we have a few different sources that fund Savvy Septic projects. We will let you know if a project you are selected for requires this. It can take anywhere from 45 to 90 days to be completed. However, typically this is already underway when we send out for bids and select an installer. The purpose of this review is to identify historical or archaeologically significant areas that could be impacted by the installation of a septic system, since it's work that disturbs the ground. We will let you know when the cultural resource review period has ended. If it's anything other than approved, we will inform of the next steps and what will happen at that time. So, other than potentially having to wait to install, how does the cultural resource review affect you? Projects that go through cultural resource review means we will send you an inadvertent discovery plan, or IDP, for the project. It is a set of plans and procedures created by the Department of Ecology for the discovery of cultural resources and human skeletal remains that may happen in any ground-disturbing work. On your end, all you need to do is review the information and keep the plan with you on site during installation. If you happen to find something during installation, you would stop work and follow the steps listed under on-site responsibilities. On the left is an example page from the IDP showing examples of items that have been found in other ground-disturbing projects in the state. As a reminder, this plan is only for projects that have undergone a cultural resource review. Back to the timeline of these projects. Once you've received that all-clear email, there are only a couple things you'll need to do differently during the actual installation. The first thing is that you'll need to post the intent to pay prevailing wage that you filed with L&I at the job site if the project is over $10,000. Additionally, if the project went through a cultural resource review, you will need to keep the inadvertent discovery plan that was sent to you on hand and follow the plan if anything is discovered during installation. After installation is complete, there is a bit of paperwork you'll need to do to wrap up the project and receive payment. The first thing you'll need to do is file an affidavit of wages paid and certified payroll records with L&I. If you used any subcontractors, they will need to have at least filed their intent in order for you to receive payment. Their certified payroll records and affidavit of wages paid must be verified shortly after payment if they are not submitted to L&I beforehand. Next, you'll be asked to sign a project completion form. This is a form from us that we will send to you. The homeowner also signs off on this form. And last, you'll send us the invoice. When sending an invoice to Savvy Septic, please make sure that the Bill To section reads Savvy Septic Program, Snohomish County Health Department, with our address listed, and that the site or ship to reads as the homeowner's name and property address. Please include the property address in the description section of your invoice as well. If the cost of installation puts the homeowner above the grant limit, the invoice will need to be split into two, as the homeowner will be paying a part of the cost if this is the case. You can find the amount that will be paid by the health department and the homeowner in the agreement you signed before starting work. You can also check with us to verify the amounts to invoice in these instances. After all requirements have been met, payment will be made in one lump sum. This includes completing all L&I requirements like submitting an affidavit of wages paid along with certified payroll records. Subcontractors must have submitted their intent at a minimum. The as-built must be accepted and a project completion form must be signed by you and the homeowner. Once everything's in, your payment will be made. Payment is sent by check unless direct deposit is set up with the health department in advance. Now that we've covered everything, we'll go over it all once again on a timeline so you can see the larger picture. If you are notified by Savvy Septic staff that you have been selected as the installer for a grant project, you may have to wait for the Cultural Resources Review to be completed. As a reminder, this is not always required, and the Cultural Resources Review only occurs on some projects. Next, any pre-installation paperwork and tasks need to be completed. This includes signing agreements, filing an intent with L&I, meeting any permit requirements such as attending a pre-construction meeting, and then requesting the designer to have the permit issued. After getting the all clear email, you are free to install. Make sure to post the intent at the job site if it's over $10,000, and keep the IDP on hand if it was sent to you by Savvy Septic staff. Lastly, you'll submit remaining paperwork to L&I, like the affidavit of wages paid and certified payroll records, and make sure any subcontractors have at least submitted their intent with L&I. We'll send a project completion form to be signed, and then you can send us an invoice and we'll get the payment out in one lump sum. As a reminder, this can all be found on our checklist for installers on the Info for Contractors page at savvyseptic.org. We mentioned earlier that sewer connections are coverable with grant funds, and for the most part, the steps for these projects are the same. If you are eligible to do sewer connection work and are selected as the winning bid on a sewer connection project, you'll follow most of the same steps mentioned in this presentation. However, because each sewer district is different in how they do things, there will be some different steps along the way required for their individual permitting processes. There may be times where you are working more with the sewer district than the health department on these projects to get everything taken care of before or after installation. As we conclude this workshop for installers on the Savvy Septic program, we want to let you know where you can find more resources. After the workshop ends, there will be a page listing the various resources we've mentioned today. You can also find these at savvyseptic.org. On our website, click the tab called Info for Contractors, which has a list of resources specific to grant projects, such as the checklist, L&I information, and tax rate lookup tool. That concludes our installer-specific workshop for Savvy Septic grant projects. We appreciate you attending, and if you have any feedback or questions, please reach out to Savvy Septic over phone or email, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for your consideration and participating in the Savvy Septic program.